Now, this next one is the hairiest mission that I was on. It was a mission where our crew earned a DFC, which is a Distinguished Flying Cross. Really nice medal. Has these propellers on it, kind of thing. It's very distinctive. And I got 2 of those in Vietnam. So the other mission, I don't remember even what it was, but this one, I definitely remember it. And the only reason I'm here today is with bad weather in this valley. This AuSha Valley is fairly narrow, maybe 10 miles across from peak to peak. And the peaks are up there at 4,500, 5,000 feet, and the valley floor is down at 600 feet, you know. And we had 7 airplanes that went in there. We found out later on what has happened is they had sent in 10,000 Army guys into this valley, which they knew had a bunch of Viet Cong and North Vietnamese regular Army guys in there. And they knew there were quite a few of them. But they wanted to go in and give it a more accurate estimate. And so they sent these 10,000 GIs in there. And my God, they started to run out of ammunition. There were so many. Final estimate was somewhere over 50,000 that they were up against in there. And they were running out of ammunition, so they sent in 130 Army helicopters, of which 100 of them were shot down. Now, not all the crew members in those died, because you can auto-rotate down and have a hard landing, but I'm sure there were some that died in those. We didn't know about that, but somebody in the headquarters doing brainstorming said, well, forget the helicopters, they don't do it. But we'll send in 7 C130s in trail, and we'll load these guys up with ammunition. And they can come down, and they don't have to drop up here at 1,200 feet where they're normally at. They can come down and drop at 100 feet. You know, that was one of the types of missions we had. Another one, you drop at like 4 feet, 5 feet above the ground. So that's fine. Our mission was to drop from 100 feet. They didn't know, the weather guys in Da Nang, we operated this thing out of Da Nang, and the 7 C-130s were from all different places. Some of them were C-130A models, like I was in, which is one of the original ones. 3-bladed prop. Some of them were C-130E models. 4-bladed prop, like we had back at Dias, etc., etc. But when you do 130 indicated airspeed, it doesn't matter what airplane you're in, you're doing 130 indicated airspeed. And they all have the same kind of thing, 50 flaps, 75 flaps, 50, 100 flaps, etc. Same weight, all this stuff. So we get over there on this mission, and by God, it's socked in. Up to maybe, I don't know, 8,000 or 9,000 feet. And the guy that's in the first airplane, we were number 5. Number 5 has always been my lucky number. When I was playing Little League Baseball, my number of the uniform was number 5. And throughout my whole life, number 5 has always been my lucky number, and it was that day as well. They would have shot down. This was a mission where we got a briefing that, hey, you're going to have an F-4 on each wingtip on this mission. We had never had a drop mission where we had fighter escort in there on our wingtips, so we knew this was hot. And Intel always tries to downplay how hot an area is. You know, they don't want you to get sick or get drunk, you know, and not make it to the mission. So they always try to downplay and make it routine sounding. And so every mission you go on, well, they got 37 millimeter, they got 55 millimeter, they got this, you know, if it's a small arms fire, well, okay. But then they said, you're going to have these fighters on your wingtips. Whoa, that's pretty hot. Okay, good. That'll be helpful. Well, if it had been a clear day, like it was for those Army helicopters that went in, they'd have shot down every C-130. As it was, they shot down one of the 7, the last airplane. It happened to have not only the 5 aircrew guys on it, but it had 5 life photographers who, back in the Vietnam War, the media were given carte blanche to jump on airplanes wherever they could to photo document this thing, to get it back to the news media, you know, kind of thing. And these poor guys, they ended up losing their lives along with the crew. And what happened was, we're going down through the soup, and this aircraft commander that's leading says, look, my guy's going to stay in regular mode on the radar, where we're in landscaping mode. He can see the mountaintops, he can see the valley, and he can get us to go up there. Everybody else, all the navs, go to pencil beam and paint the plane that's right in front of you. And you pull up your antenna, and it just goes like that, and you see this little dot on your radar. And you keep a certain spacing based on our airspeed. And he told us what spacing it was. And you're like lemmings going in there. The first guy goes right down the middle. Or maybe not. Maybe he goes a little long. The second guy goes a little long. The third guy goes a little long. The next thing you know, you're in the damn mountains over on this side. And I was thinking that. Oh, well, he turns short. And this guy turns short. That guy turns. So I had it in my mind that if the guy ahead of me, if that blip disappears, that means he hit a mountaintop. Now, I don't know whether it was the one on the long or on the short. I said, but if he disappears, I'm going to flick my radar to landscape mode right away, and maybe I'll see it. And I'm going to have to make an instant choice. Do I turn left because I think he hit this one? Or do I turn right because I think he hit the one that's far in? So it was hairy. We go in there and we make the turn. Everything's fine. No, the blip ahead of me was staying on the screen. We're all going down there. And in the A model, which was the oldest model C-130s there were back in the mid to early 50s, and in all C-130s, but particularly A models because they have the older engines, you develop an ear for how the engines are sounding. And we started hearing this kind of sound as we're coming down through the soup, you know. And I'm, you know, navigator, I always call the green light on when the guy shoots, go out, or the paratroopers go out, whatever. And the aircraft commander says to the engineer, what is that? He says, I don't know, everything's working fine. Pow! About that time, outside our window. What it was of maybe 10 or 12 or 15 guns. So you put them all together, that's what it sounds like. And they were firing predominantly where they could hear the sound, which made, we were going ahead of it before the thing got up there to burst, you know, lucky. And since they were putting all this shit in the air and no 130s were getting shot down, somebody said, hey, why don't we lead the sound a little bit? And they got the last airplane, number 7. And they shot 2 of his engines out, and he knew, that pilot knew, that crew knew, there was no way that they could climb out of that valley. There was no way that they could turn it and get it to climb out enough where they could get out of there. And so they decided to crash land it. And I don't know whether the aircraft commander gave the rest of the crew a choice. You can bail out or you can crash land, because I intend to walk away from this thing. And he comes in and they have photos of this as he's coming in. And it looks like it's all nice flat land that maybe has like blueberry bushes on it, you know, no trees, nothing, sandy soil, etc. But that airplane comes down, had its gear down. As soon as it contacted the ground, the fuselage sort of stopped and the wings folded forward. They're all full of gas. It just was one great big gas bomb that went up, and they all got fried. Bad news. Our situation could have been tricky too, in that we got down there and I call for green light. I see the smoke, I see everything's going down. I call green light. The damn load does not get out. It goes back to the ass end of the airplane, the ramp, and it gets wobbled somehow in the rail system, and the pallet gets stopped. And we got this drag chute hanging out the ass end with this load. And I never did ask the loadmaster, but if I ever meet him again, I'm going to ask, did you climb up on the load and cut loose the chute? You know, because the drag would be so much that even Jack Wolf, who was our aircraft commander, and he was great. I loved working with Jack and being his navigator and him being my AC. He put that baby up on its side because I told him, hey, the mountain's right there. And even when I go to landscape mode, I'm not going to be able to tell how far we are from the edge of the mountain. It's just going to be one bright thing. So we can miss it by 10 feet. We can miss it by 100 feet, you know. But, you know, he knew that. He was tight. And sometimes when you get real tight and angled over like this, you lose your airspeed and down you go. Quickly. You go down quickly. But he was a good stick man and safety paramount kind of thing guy too. He knew what that airplane was going to do. And he was able to jack it forward power-wise, keep that baby in the air, and I gave him a heading to turn back to, and we were able to climb back up. And as we poked our nose out of the clouds, right off to our left, here's the top of the mountain. Oof. Yeah, maybe, 500 feet away. So we were close. It was close. And we get up on the top, clear, and he nosed the nose down, and the loadmaster went back there and did something with the locks and was able to get the thing to roll back in. But we did not actually complete our mission. Now, there are guys who I know who this might have gone through their mind, and I don't know, it could have gone through Jack's mind as well, that once that load got back in there, let's go try it again, guys. Let's go try it again. We'll go down there. We'll be the only guys going in. And if that would have happened, I think they would have shot us down too, because now they knew to lead it, Anyhow, that was my hairiest mission. One where what saved us that day? Bad weather. If it had been a clear day, wouldn't be here.